So I read a recent report that a Legend of Zelda animated film is going to be in development, or is in development at Illumination in conjunction with Nintendo. Um, the CEO and founder of Illumination, Chris Maledandri, spoke with The Wrap at a recent film festival and said, quote, "I don't know where that came from," referring, of course, to the Legend of Zelda report. "I mean, I can understand how people would surmise all sorts of things, because obviously we've had a great experience working together with Nintendo, of course. My relationship with Nintendo now includes being on their board of directors, so I understand how people can surmise these things. But in terms of the specifics, that was just something that I've been hearing lots of reports." It's worth noting this article I'm reading on the Wrap itself, the magazine, or I guess website that he had this interview with. It's worth knowing they classify this as a denial. I don't call this a denial because he never said they were wrong. He just simply said, "I don't know where that report came from, and I can understand why people would believe that." And in terms of specifics, it's just something he's been hearing reports about, but nothing else. So he's not saying that it's not happening or it's not going to happen. In fact, he said, "I'm on the board of directors now," so it makes sense you would think that. So he's basically just saying, wow, you think because I have a really close relationship with Nintendo that my studio is going to get another film from them. Well, okay, cool. But he doesn't say they're wrong. So this is a non-answer. In fact, it's just a very clever way of dodging the question. But of course, he's not going to answer that. Why would he tell you about his future film prospects? He doesn't need to tell you that. He'll discuss it with Nintendo at the board of directors meeting, apparently he's now a part of. But it's worth noting, this rumor about a Legend of Zelda animated film, this was going to happen no matter what. Doesn't matter. Well, it was dependent upon the success of the Super Mario Brothers film. That was the X factor. And once that did well, it was inevitable we were going to get these rumors. Because every major media outlet wants a Nintendo cinematic universe. They want it. They want that Nintendo cinematic universe. Because that is a goldmine of articles to write for years. I mean, just think about it. They announce a Nintendo cinematic universe, or they don't even need to do that. If they just announce there's a Legend of Zelda film coming out, we've got 2 Nintendo properties being handled by Illumination at that point, and then the mind runs wild. All of a sudden, every single site gets to put their 12 Nintendo franchises that should be adapted into the Nintendo cinematic universe. What will a Smash Brothers film look like? 15 actors who should play, whatever character in the upcoming insert Nintendo film. And not only could film magazines and websites talk about this, video game magazines and websites could talk about this. So trust me, everybody who considers themselves a journalist in movies or video games would be salivating at the prospect of a cinematic Nintendo universe. So this was always going to happen. This rumor was always going to occur, whether there's any, whether it has any oxygen or not, right? But when I think about the prospects of a Legend of Zelda film animated by Illumination, it makes me pause, and I don't know how comfortable I'd be with Illumination making a Legend of Zelda film. It's weird to say that, considering the success of the Super Mario Brothers film, but when I envision a Legend of Zelda film, I just envision something a little bit more mature than the Super Mario Brothers film. And that's not to say I'd be looking for like an R rating or even like a PG-13, but it's just something I think a little more nuanced than the Super Mario Brothers film. A good example would be, I would expect Link to stay silent. I would insist, me personally, if I were in some way in charge of making the film, I would insist Link stay silent. And I know a lot of people would say, well, why would that be a big factor in it, right? Well, the Legend of Zelda development team has stayed largely the same. I mean, if you really look at it, there hasn't been much turnover in the Legend of Zelda team in over like 20 years now. I mean, for God's sakes, Alan Numa's been the head of it since forever, and the quality of games has never really dropped. And now we have voice acting in Legend of Zelda, right? Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, both entries recently had a bunch of voice acting included in it. But Link still doesn't talk. Now, if Link still doesn't talk, and we've had 2 major entries, the best-selling games in the series, by the way, the series has been going on for decades now, and the best-selling titles in it, where they put the most money into it, most likely, and they get voice actors for it, and they've still chosen not to give Link a voice, and it's the same dev team every time, That's what we call a conscious creative decision on Nintendo's part and on the Zelda team's part. So it's not me nitpicking. It's not me saying, "Oh, well, if you give a voice to Link, well, that's kind of annoying." No, I think it's a bit of stepping on sacred ground here, take your shoes off at the door, before you walk in on sacred ground. I just think it's not something you should mess with. And when you make a silent main character, that kind of flavors the whole film, right? Doesn't matter what genre you're in. If your main character is silent, that kind of changes the way you can go about making that film in that genre. For instance, say it's a comedy film. You're doing humor in a Legend of Zelda film. Well, that humor has probably got to be slapstick now, or you've got to at least have some good slapstick in it. Because if Link's going to be part of it, he can't talk. And if he can't talk, then he's got to be very animated. And if he's got to be very animated, you might as well go slapstick. If it's going to be a drama and he's going to be silent most of the time, you're going to have to fill a lot of silence with something interesting going on, some kind of progression happening that isn't just driven by dialogue. I find that creative. I find that interesting. I think that's something that could really push forward what we think of when we think of a video game animated film. I mean, we've just now clawed ourselves out, kicking and screaming, from the dark ages of video game films. I think it's technically been a while. You could say that technically some of the Silent Hill and Resident Evil films have been successful over the years, so maybe we're just being very nitpicky about what we consider to be a video game adaptation that is good. But from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise and now the Super Mario Brothers film and such, and Detective Pikachu even, I might go so far as to say, we're squarely out of the dark ages of video game movies now. I just think Zelda has the potential as an animated film to be something more akin to early Pixar works, or even like The Incredibles, something with a little bit of edge to it. For God's sakes, The Incredibles sometimes feels like Watchmen for kids. Something that can appeal to adults and children and have a little bit more drama to it, a little bit more panache. But maybe that's just me. And I don't trust Illumination to do that kind of thing. I really don't. They can't help themselves. I mean, just think about it. You get Link, right? This young, kind of androgynous white guy as the main character. Oh, please. You're really going to tell me they're going to pass up giving a voice actor to that? I just think about the different actors you can put in there. It's gonna be Tom Holland, right? They're gonna put Tom Holland, his big name, up on the posters and have him do the whole press junkets and etc. There's no way they could keep Link's role empty. The main character's got to have a big celebrity voice actor. It's just the way Illumination is. They can't help themselves. They know the business too well. They know themselves too well. No reason to break the mold. So I don't want them to do it because I don't want them to be tempted to screw with it. I don't want them to be tempted to muddy their fingers into the water, right? Besides, we all know if we're making a Zelda animated film, it should be in the style of Wind Waker. Come on now. It's right there. It's right there. But they wouldn't take that. They wouldn't even be interested. It'd be the perfect adaptation, but that's neither here nor there. See, I feel bad saying this because the Mario movie did so incredibly well, but this is apples and oranges. Same company, two vastly different audiences, requirements expected of the property, expectations of what it is. Gotta be careful here. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is, if Illumination is going to be handling a Zelda film, that's fine, but I'm going to be very skeptical about them doing the movie, doing the franchise honor, doing right by it. But I think that's probably just me. I'm probably just being picky. I'm sure most people would say, hey, animated Zelda film, it's about time. Hey, but to close all this off, let's not talk about it, all right? Like, if we find out that they are making a Zelda film, let's just keep it to ourselves. Because the last time we leaked about a Zelda project, aka that little Netflix adaptation they were doing, Nintendo found out it leaked, and they axed it on the spot. So, if, say, someone finds some test footage of the Legend of Zelda film and leaks that, don't be surprised if Nintendo pulls that plug, because they don't mess around with that kind of thing. Let's keep it on the lowdown, folks. If any of us, let's all pledge right now. Anyone watching this video right now, let's all pledge. If you find out information about the Legend of Zelda film, if you have proof of it, evidence, don't leak that stuff. Don't ruin it for the rest of us. We don't want Nintendo shutting down another Legend of Zelda project. But what do you think? You think Legend of Zelda should be handled by Illumination? Do you think this rumor is true? You think I'm being too harsh? You think. And, oh, put this in the comments, please. I'm begging you. Put this in the comments. If Link has to have a voice actor, and by that I'm basically saying if Illumination's making a Zelda film, because once again, they won't be able to help themselves, please, I'm begging you, tell me who you think should voice act Link. And meme choices are fine, but I'm serious. Who do you think should voice act him? Because I'm at a total loss. I don't even want to think about Link having a voice. One of the few long-standing silent protagonists still in video games to this day. And you're going to give it to, once again, my guess is Tom Holland. That would be my guess. But yeah, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and or listening, and I'll talk to you again real soon.